Alright guys, so recently I did a video about toxic sympathy, toxic empathy, the way the culture pressures people into, this false sense of, forgiveness being the thing that will soothe your soul. Basically the gist of it being that, the forces that be are conspiring to make people feel as though they can't hold the line and recognize their emotions and their innate need to distance themselves from things that are negative. That we have to embrace people and give them all this grace no matter what. Kind of like that concept of give until it hurts. You ever hear that saying, give until it hurts? I think that's the world's worst saying. You should never give until it hurts. So that's the gist of that video. But I bring that up because it's so funny. I had a conversation at work today. So I'm a nurse, as I said in a couple other videos. And when I come to work, what I have to first do is receive a report from, my colleague that I'm relieving. I have to hear about all the patients and get a rundown. So during the course of me getting my report, right, the nurse, who I also work with at another facility, a lot of nurses have multiple jobs. The nurse and I start talking about a patient we knew at another facility that was, hospitalized, and she informed me that he passed away. Okay. And we started talking about it further, and she related to me that, this patient was a person who had, some substance issues and, had, been unhoused and things like that, right? And, you know, what she said to me was, his sister was contacted because this guy apparently was in a state where they were looking to pull the plug. And they contact this guy's sister, and the sister said, basically, I don't care what you do with him. And, the only thing you need to do is tell me when he's gone, and no, I'm not going to do anything with the body. I'm going to leave that up to the state, blah, 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 right? The sister wanted nothing to do with it. The sister was like, checked out. She was done with the guy. Apparently, while he was on, the street doing dirt and all this stuff, he, apparently had put her through the paces. I don't know any of the specifics of it. And even if I did, I wouldn't disclose the specifics because that would violate a patient's, right to privacy. So I won't get terribly specific. But as I'm talking to the nurse was like, isn't that terrible of the sister? Isn't that so terrible of her? Isn't that a horrible thing that she just wouldn't care or want the body? And she was like, and this is what the nurse related to me about herself, okay? So this isn't about a patient. This is about the nurse herself. She said to me, she was like, back in the day, I smoked meth. And, it was a problem, and I realized it was a problem, and, my tolerance kept going up and up, and I finally quit because I was like, you know what, I have kids, and, I had only done it for a year, but I already had kids, so I was like, I'm going to stop, and then she went on to say, people have to forgive people because when you do things when you're high, you're not yourself, and she said this. The next thing I'm about to say, she actually said this. This isn't bullshit. She goes, and, sometimes people do things when they're high. They're not themselves, Sometimes people touch kids when they're high. Sometimes people steal things when they're high. She's telling me this. And she's like, but people should forgive that because they weren't themselves. And I'm standing there like, Now, when you're at work, you can't rock the boat too much. I'm not going to get on my soapbox too much. But, I can't put up with too much bullshit. I do this for a hobby, so that should tell you how disenchanted with and how allergic to bullshit I am. So I'm standing like, oh yeah, well, yeah, and I just finally had to say, I had to say, well, we don't know what this guy put his sister through. That's one, while he was out there strung out, and two. Yes, people can change radically when they're under the influence of drugs. But we have to then ask ourselves, why would you try something like that in the first place, And, like for her, like I was directing this to her. I was like, like meth has never been attractive in a movie. I've never seen a movie where people were doing meth, or fent or crack or whatever else and it was a movie where everybody was having a good time. I've seen funny stoner movies. I've even seen funny drinker movies like The Hangover or something like that. But I've never seen a movie about crack or any of the other aforementioned things that doesn't end up in, robbing and stealing and cheating from your loved ones and, sucking dick in the alley to get a rock. I've never seen a movie about those illicit drugs where anything positive happens. So I said, there has to be some accountability for trying this stuff in the first place. That's a choice. And she got real quiet, right? Because, and it just revealed, and it explained to me so much about this woman's character. Because, if you're a nurse out there and you see this, you might be able to relate. Nurses are lazy as fuck. And this is a particularly lazy one. This woman has been written up several times just because she won't sign her name on the temperature log. This woman has been written up several times because she won't put her blood sugars in. You know how long it takes to put a blood sugar into a medical administration form, or record, I should say? About 2 seconds. You go, you check the blood sugar, you write the blood sugar down, write the amount of units of insulin you're going to administer, and then you write down the site in which you administered it. Takes all of 2 seconds. Everybody knows you're supposed to do it, and it's also law, and it's also a matter of record keeping, so we can see how the patient is doing over a period of time. Is their blood sugar going up? Is it going down? These are very important things. So this is a very lazy person. We work 12-hour shifts, and I remember her saying to me, I wish they would stop writing me up. They don't even give you a chance to sign your name. And I'm like, in a 12-hour shift, you don't have a chance to not even sign your name. As a nurse, you don't even have to sign. You can initial. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, okay, So it just really showed me, I'm like, you have no accountability. That's why you want constant forgiveness. That's why you could say with a straight face, yeah, they might get, high and touch a kid, or they might get high and steal from their moms, but they were in a different place and they weren't in their right mind, so we should all forgive them. That's why you can say that shit, because you're an irresponsible person. You have the mind of a child. You have the accountability of a toddler. You have the forethought of a hamster. Okay, you have the planning ability of a dementia patient. You are probably some sort of borderline personality thing. And these people are everywhere. It's a wonder that we don't have people constantly crashing their car and, just dying stupid deaths, just based on the collective IQ out here. But it really made it clear to me. I was like, to go back to the radical empathy thing, the only people who want that are the stupid, the weak, and the unaccountable. That's who wants it. That's who's pushing this. Okay, it's pop psychology and it's all this stuff, but it's really for the benefit of the stupid. Okay, because if we didn't coddle the stupid, these psychiatrists would be like deluged with people, and you're thinking, oh, well, that would be good for them. They get to, charge more and, get more money in this. But it would be a thing where they would have their phones blown up all the time, because these people would need constant reassurance, because somebody at their job probably yelled at them about them not doing their job, which is, of course, something you should yell at someone for. And they just can't handle real life consequences. So these psychiatrists and psychologists would never get any sleep. So what they do is they push this radical, you must forgive bullshit, and you must carry somebody else's water, and you must do the thinking for someone else, because we're not all adults that are expected to come out here and perform and be conscientious and observant of our environment and, accountable to those with whom we work. No, we're not that. What we are is little children who need to be coddled, and we need somebody to tell us it's okay. We need somebody to give us a participation trophy. Only the weak and the unaccountable and the stupid want radical forgiveness. Those of us who hold ourselves accountable don't want radical forgiveness, because we know what it feels like to radically forgive and to have that boundary broken over and over again, and to have the thing that they said would never ever happen over and over and over again. People like us right, who are against like radical forgiveness are people who don't expect to be radically forgiven. If somebody says, hey, Holden, you did that thing and I don't like when you do that thing, and I went ahead and did it again, and the person had to reiterate, don't do that thing, I don't like that thing, I would actually have like shame, because I'd be like, wow, this person told me not to do that thing, and I keep doing the thing, and I've already been told, I was aware that I shouldn't do the thing. Let me make sure I don't ever do the thing again, right? Because I have logic, common sense, decency, and a desire to be reciprocal, especially if someone's been good to me. I'd like to keep that chain of you're good to me, I'm good to you going. That's just the easiest way to live. That's the way that society should function. We should be given equal exchange and doing for others, and giving, as much as we can, so long as we're getting effort and energy from other people. I think that's what we should do. So people like that don't want endless forgiveness, because then we watch our own standard of conduct for ourselves go downhill. We don't want that. We want to maintain our standard of conduct. I like going to work and knowing that I'm the nurse, where if it needs to be done, I got it done. And if I couldn't get it done, I carried the ball as far as I could. But everything's set up. You have everything you need to continue the play. I just couldn't carry the ball any further because my shift ended or I ran out of time. But you understand, when you see my name on the shift, that everything was done to the best of my ability. I like having that representation, or reputation, I should say. I like being that guy, the one that does their job. That's something I enjoy. The stupid, the weak, and the unaccountable, they don't really get anything a benefit from being good. They don't prioritize the feeling of hard work. They don't prioritize giving quality to other people, and in return being viewed as a quality person, because they've never tried it, because they've never had to, because we live in a world of radical empathy and radical forgiveness, and you can get another chance and another chance and another chance. Excuse me, which is why, again, you could say with a straight face, swear to God, always when I'm making a video, something, right? That's why you can say with a straight face, as an unaccountable person, yeah, that person chose to, get high, and yeah, maybe they touched that kid, but you should forgive them. No, we don't forgive that. We don't forgive people for fucking with society's most vulnerable beings. That's children. That's why when these people go to jail, they tend to not have a good time. What they do is, you go to jail and people look at your paperwork. People will legit make you look at, or prison I should say, people will legit make you reveal your paperwork. And based on what you're in there for, you will have a specific experience. And if it's anything to do with hurting children or women, good luck. Good luck. I hope you know how to fight. I hope you wear extra padding, because it's about to be SpongeBob time. You're about to, be full of holes. So, the real world where shit actually matters and your reputation matters. Can't talk today. And the way you move is looked at, assessed, and analyzed by other people, in order for them to determine how they want to treat you. In that world, these people never make it. That's why they can't make it in jobs where it's based on vocations where you have to actually put some elbow grease in. They don't make it, because what it is it's not paperwork, frivolous paperwork, where maybe you checked this box, maybe you didn't. This is actually a life or death situation, particularly my field, and missing things and not being attentive could, as I said, be the difference between someone living or dying. They can't make it in this world. That's why we have so many lazy nurses who just hope to get by faking it. They have to cover up the fact that they're not legitimately doing what they need to do. And they get to keep doing that even though everybody knows they're doing it, because of this culture of radical empathy, forgiveness, sympathy bullshit. Again, these people are stupid, unaccountable, okay, and weak. That's who's pushing this. So if you want to be a recipient of that, okay, if you want endless grace, if you want to keep stepping on people's feet when they've already asked you to stop stepping on their feet, then you too can join the stupid, weak, and unaccountable people. You too can watch yourself never ever grow and progress. You too can live like a perpetual child. These are all choices.